It takes a village, because for all means for all. Together we'll break down any wall. Linked in love, we won't disarm. We're uniting the grassroots army strong. So press play, feel the spark. This is where the movement starts. It takes a village and we're the proof. Truth in action, raising the roof. It takes a village. It takes a village. We rise together, louder than fear. One voice, one fire, crystal clear. From every banner, every street, unity moves on dancing feet. We rise together, we're strong. A million hearts singing one song.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to It Takes a Village, where we don't talk politics. We platform people building power from the ground up. I'm your charming and furious host, Political Jess. And let's be clear, I'm not going anywhere. Not today, not tomorrow, not until the grassroots win. And even then, who knows? So before we dig in to tonight's delicious broadcast, let's go over some ground rules, because this is a safe place for real talk and not chaos, okay? First of all, if you have a question for our guest, request up. You get one question, one follow-up, and our candidate will have about 2 minutes to answer. I don't really time you. 18 plus only, because minor safety matters. Stick to current events and keep it respectful. Remember, this is not a debate stage. There's more than plenty of places on this app that you can do that in. This is not it. Okay? Trolls, hecklers, and bad faith actors, immediate ejection. No refunds, no regrets. While we are chatting, please be tapping up that screen and share out the live. Every tap helps push this stream to the FYP, which means more eyes on these incredible candidates who are out here fighting for all of us. And hey, have you seen the new goodies in our subsection? It's stickers, that's right, little trinkets of joy for your viewing pleasure. Super fans get access to exclusive polls, threads, and maybe even a swanky sticker in there designed for our next guest. Now listen, I know that it is super tempting to shower these amazing people with love and magic beans from TikTok, but remember when you do that TikTok takes a big old bite out of that cheese before they get it to that candidate. So if you want to donate and participate in the success of our movement, we'll be dropping the donation links for you a little bit later on as well, so that you can support these candidates without the middleman. So, the middleman. Speaking of tonight's amazing guest, he hails from the incredible state of New Hampshire. It's the New Hampshire show. Yes. Twice in a row, here to shake things up in the best possible way. Please give a warm, rowdy, and amazing grassroots welcome to the incomparable John Kiper. There we go. A little more enthusiasm for you there. Let me make you bigger here. Hello, my friend. How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
Wonderful. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. So we are going to do things a little bit differently tonight with you, because you have a John Kiper stan in the chat by the name of the K-Law. She just loves you to pieces, man. So we're going to do things a little differently here today. I have 2 questions that I ask every single candidate when they come onto this platform. 2 questions. Okay, so, and then after we do those 2 questions, I'm going to hand it over to Kim, and she's going to do some rapid fire questioning for you. Okay, so
sure.
Just a reminder, guys, tap up that screen to 100,000, and we'll get John a good donation by the time the show is over. Okay, the first question is, you've heard of the straw that breaks the camel's back, right? We are not being hit with straws. We are being hit with the whole damn camel, the whole camel in the face repeatedly, sometimes different camels. It's very uncomfortable. So What was the camel that broke your back that inspired you to run for office? And if you can give us kind of like a little synopsis on who your constituencies are.
Thank you for having me to begin with. And yeah, I'd love to answer that question. So I am in New Hampshire. I live in Newmarket, which is a pretty small town in the sort of southern seacoast area-ish. And basically, after having been on a number of town boards in my town, I realized, we had some issues in our state that I really could not address from the standpoint of being a town councilor or whatever. I had to sort of move up. And there was a couple barriers, one being that the state reps don't get paid. So that was not really an option for me. In case you didn't know that, the state reps in New Hampshire are paid $100 per year. They're the only state reps that are not paid like $10,000 a year, which is basically the minimum for every other state. And as a result, 80% of our state reps are wealthy and or retired. Yeah. So I wasn't going to be a state rep. I just really couldn't financially afford that. I looked at the list of jobs that paid, and governor was really the only legitimate one. So I was thinking about it. I had it in the back of my mind since the first time I saw that, which was 2015, 2016. And then what happened was someone was running. So we had, for anyone that's not from New Hampshire, we had the same governor for 8 years. He was a Republican named Chris Sununu. He was very popular, one of the most popular governors in the state, regardless of how you feel about his politics. He was a very popular guy. And the Democrats kept putting up candidates. They kept losing to him. And so he announced that he wasn't going to run again in 2023 into 2024. And the first candidate to announce that she was going to run against him as a Democrat was a woman named Cindy Warmington, who was she's currently, or was an executive counselor at the time in New Hampshire. And the thing that really was a red flag to me was she had been a lobbyist for Purdue Pharma, the maker of OxyContin. And OxyContin, if you did not know, was a drug that caused the opioid crisis in New Hampshire amongst other states. And so I just saw that and I said, this is absolutely like jaw-dropping that this would be who the Democrats would put up. So I basically was just, I literally was like, I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm going to get on TikTok. I'm going to make some TikToks. It's $150 to run for governor, to get on the ballot. So I was like, I'm going to spend my $150. I'm going to get my name on the ballot, and whatever happens after that, whatever. But I'm going to just make sure that everyone understands that this person was a lobbyist for Purdue Pharma, and in a Senate hearing in 2002 said OxyContin is not habit forming, totally safe, and should be widely prescribed. And this was the thing that really got me, is even after that came up and through the course of the primary, she refused to say that she regretted working for Purdue Pharma. Refused to do it in private settings, in public settings, would not do it. And I said, for the love of God, you're never going to be able to win a general election in New Hampshire with being a Purdue Pharma apologist.
Yeah, no. Crazy.
Yeah. So that motivated me.
Yeah, that would motivate me too. Geez, with all of the opioid stuff that's going on, you would think that she would have a little bit more, awareness.
Well, and this is the thing that people should understand about the Democratic Party in New Hampshire. This person, Cindy Warmington, her husband is currently one of the lawyers for the party. And her employer, when she was working for Purdue Pharma, was Shaheen Gordon of Jean Shaheen's husband's law firm. And Jean Shaheen was actually the governor while this was happening. So it's all one happy family in the New Hampshire Democratic circles, as long as you are a lawyer at Shaheen Gordon. Everything's fine. If you're not, you're on the outs, and it's really hard.
But good luck to you. Yeah, we've got a couple of other candidates that are coming up that are not in the Shaheen circle of trust in New Hampshire. So yeah, that'll be really fun. Okay, so here's the next question I'm going to ask you. This is a serious one, and I encourage you to be as candid and honest and just let it marinate as much as you need it to. Okay.
Sure.
Okay. So many voters, especially young, working class, and marginalized communities, feel betrayed by candidates who run on bold, progressive platforms, but quickly compromise or abandon those values once they're elected. So if you win your seat, and you will win your seat because we manifest that shit around here, if you win your seat, how will you ensure your actions match your promises, especially when pressured by party leadership, corporate donors, or political expediency? What is your plan to stay rooted in the movements that got you here?
It's a great question. And I think that the issue is that when we're running, we have to be idealistic. Like somebody asked me this actually at a Democrat meeting the other day. They said, the Senate is heavily gerrymandered in our state. The executive council is heavily gerrymandered. It's going to be likely that you're dealing with Republicans in both of those, at least those two parts of the government. Mm-hmm. And so I said, we're going to have to talk to Republicans. We're going to have to find compromises to get anything done. Yeah. But really, the thing that people should understand about New Hampshire, and this is true in other states as well, but I only really know about New Hampshire. 2030 is really the magic year when we can redistrict. So we've got to get to 2030 and redistrict. We got to have a Democrat in office. We really want to be 26, 28, 30. We want to build it up to there. We want to win so we can redistrict in 2030. And then we can do a lot of great things. Frankly, it's going to be very hard unless there's a massive blue wave, which isn't possible. I'm not going to say it's not possible. We could win a majority in the Senate. It's just so gerrymandered. Like if you look at the way that the districts are cut up, it's crazy. Like it doesn't make any geological sense. It doesn't make any sense except for a rigged election. So we've got to keep that in mind. And I try to tell people this as well, that and I'm not trying to say that try to lower the bar or something already, but it's also important for people to know that the governor of New Hampshire is the weakest governor in the entire country, right? And so they have very little power. So they end up kind of either, going, if the state's doing well, then like Sununu did well because the state got tons of money from COVID. We got billions of dollars from COVID money. And that papered over a lot of the financial issues. And so there's just, there's limited things that we can do. But I would like to really change the role of the governor and have a more hands-on approach. I really want to get into the nuts and bolts of housing, zoning, planning, dealing with and helping our unhoused folks transition into a more secure housing environment, and doing that on the ground, working with people, working with the organizations that are already there, working with the business community. If we can get the business community to, I always thought this would be kind of funny to go to big businesses in New Hampshire and say, look, we could raise your taxes, or you guys could just make a donation to this homeless shelter or this unhoused shelter we're trying to build. You know what I mean? Like, be really pragmatic about how we get things done in New Hampshire to move the ball down the court, in a way, even if we're dealing with or working with Republicans, in a way that people can really see in their lives in a meaningful way. So, I mean, I'm really like grounded in New Hampshire. I really, I know that like there's obviously a lot of elections, a lot of things happening around the country. I try to like stay right here, like, and be present in my state and be mindful that like whatever happened in New York City or happened in some other place, it has maybe some effect, but really it's not that important. I don't care. I don't care what happens in the rest of the country. I'm focused right here, what we can get done. So I think it's really important for the way I look at every election is different. Zoran's election was different than mine. Graham Plattner's election is different than Karishma. Like every election is different. Yes. And like even the calculus for who's going to vote, just because a Democrat does well for Senate doesn't mean a Democrat's going to do well for CD1. It's all kind of a little bit, and obviously there's blue waves, but we're all kind of dealing with a slightly different electorate in a way.
Well, every state has their own unique culture too. So what works for Mondani is not going to work down here in Texas. And you want to talk about jerry-rigged maps in the world. I think Texas has got to, I don't know. We have a lot of work to do down here is what I'm trying to say to you. So yes, I feel you. And that's very interesting that the governor doesn't have as much legislative power. You would think that they would be like the governor of Texas would have the same amount of power as the governor of New Hampshire.
It's wild. So New Hampshire, we still have an executive council, which most of the other states have replaced with a lieutenant governor. And so a lot of the power that the governor has is sort of with the executive council. Like things have to go through both. So that really is an issue. And frankly, New Hampshire is running off of an 1898 playbook. Literally, like we have just not really modernized our system of government in so many ways, and it's frankly it's really annoying. Like, I mean, I don't know if you've heard this. We have 400 state reps. It's like it's the third biggest elected body in the country or the world. And you think having a lot of reps would be a good thing, but it's actually really kind of annoying because none of them have any, they end up not having any power individually. And for anyone trying to get anything done, it's like herding cats, you know? And literally you talk to the reps and the reps will even say, they're like, I wish there was less of us, because even each rep putting in a bill or two, suddenly you're at 1,000 bills, and just reading through all of the legislation, it's like a little bit just, you can see how the system needs an upgrade, basically.
Yeah, and 400 reps is a lot. That's a lot. And New Hampshire's not a big state.
No.
New Hampshire's kind of a small state. So.
Yeah, 1.4 million people.
Wow, that's a lot of reps.
Dallas, Texas, I think, has got about the same number of people as New Hampshire does. So
as New Hampshire does. It's not great.
It's kind of a funny thing. And this is something I figured out is I was like, wow, the governor of New Hampshire, the distance between the average person, the governors, is so many less people, so many less votes than even like the mayor of Phoenix or the mayor of, many of these other cities out there. So it's kind of funny because at the end of the day, all the governors are sort of held at the same level, even though like Kristi Noem was, governor of like 700,000 people is she North Dakota or South Dakota? I always forget. In whatever Dakota she's in. And so it's just kind of a funny thing where I did the math and I was like, this makes sense in New Hampshire. It would not make sense in most other states.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a unique situation for sure. But I think that you're right. You can't write one playbook and expect it to work in a country that's as big as ours, right? Like if our country was the size of Germany, then sure. But it's not. It's and
I think that this goes into a lot of the discussion, and it sort of drives me crazy because there's now this whole discussion of like, oh, do we be more centrist or do we be more progressive to win in 2026? And I'm like, dude, it depends on where you live. It depends completely on where you live. And trying to say, to pull, like the New York City mayor's election and pull parallels to New Hampshire. Yeah, there's some, but you can't really draw any sweeping like national, movements out of, except for the fact that Democrats are winning special elections. I mean, I think that Democrats are in general doing well, but what's going to work in Texas is going to be so different than what works in New Hampshire that I'm just like reticent. Whenever somebody's like saying, oh, Democrats in the United States need to do X, I'm like, no, we don't. You're wrong. And I know you're wrong because there's 50 states with 50 different bodies.
Whole different animals every single time. So here's what I tell people, because there's always like, Texas is highly gerrymandered and there's a whole lot of like just really beaten down Democrats out here, right? Like we just don't, the Democrats out here are they've lost their will to fight, so to speak.
Yeah.
So, but I try to tell people, oh my gosh, I had a thought and I just lost it. As you have like a baseline standard, right? Like it doesn't really matter. It doesn't matter what you want, as long as you believe that, trans women are women. If you believe that nobody should be policed going to the bathroom, if you believe that, people should have the freedom to choose what they want to do with their bodies, as long as we can agree on basic fundamental human rights, the rest of it is just kind of like, boring policy stuff.
Yeah.
But if we can agree on like, a baseline, then, we can all be friends. It doesn't really matter what party you're on. As long as we have a baseline understanding of human rights, then the rest of it's
totally.
Yeah. So, okay, Kim, I'm gonna pass this over to you. You have rapid fire questions that you want to ask John to keep him on his toes, and I'm loving this energy. So, I'm gonna go ahead and pass it over to you, my friend, my darling, wonderful co-host. Love the cup. Hold that up for a second.
My son got me this, and it's the most massive. It's the most massive tea cup or tea.
Dude,
and I always want a bigger mug. You know what I mean? I always want like more tea, and I'm like this is not enough. I need the bigger size. So
they have. My husband has a sriracha one. It's like this. It's huge.
Nice.
It's a massive sriracha mug. So yes, I feel like it's really cool though. I'm a fan
My
of Spot.
son's a yard sailor. He got this at a yard sale. I don't
Love
know.
it.
You guys
Love
do yard
it.
sales in Texas?
Oh yes. Oh yes. We're big fans. All right, Kim, the floor is yours, my dear.
Hey, John.
Hey, how are
Thank you
you?
for coming and
No
hanging out
worries.
with us. Good. So I'm a resident here in New Hampshire. I hang out with the crew with Aria and them. So hopefully I'll see you on Wednesday up at the State House. I don't know if you plan on going up there.
Do you mean to the art alley thingo?
But yes.
Yes.
I think it's called the Veto Day or
Yeah.
okay, cool.
Okay.
I'll come find you and meet you in person. Um, so I I don't know if you want me to start out like with the hard one or the easier ones,
Whatever.
but
Give him the hard
okay.
one first. Give him the hard one first. Give him the hard one
Sure.
Oh
first.
my gosh. It's so if elected governor, would you support allowing lawsuits against gun manufacturer in cases of negligence, even if those companies were campaign donations? And we
Yes.
all know what we're talking about.
I think I think it's wild just the hoops that the Republicans will go through to help the gun manufacturers avoid all responsibility for the products they make. I mean, like, let's just be honest. In case people don't know, Sig Sauer, which is in New Hampshire, made a pistol that literally will just go off and shoot cops in their own feet and their own legs because it was made incorrectly. And I don't know a lot about how guns work, but it seems like not something you want, a gun that just goes off and shoots people. I mean, guns are dangerous as it is. If you have one that's literally just sorry, yeah.
Can we take a time out for a second? And I just want to say that the TikTok shop is amazing, and you can get the best stuff on the TikTok shop. All kinds
Oh
of amazing
yeah,
specials and
you were
things.
supposed to say
But
pew
we
pews.
have
Yeah, sorry.
I know, and I don't make the rules, and I'm so sorry, but we have to protect our life, and I just like to ask you guys to just keep in mind to use TikTok safe language, please. The
Sure,
TikTok
yeah,
shop
sorry about
is
that.
amazing. No worries. Continue.
That's why she doesn't let me out much.
I know, right?
Yeah, so as he was talking about, we had someone accept a donation and they were gonna, save this manufacturer from some lawsuits. So you can go ahead and finish telling your story.
Yeah, I mean that was basically it. It's just the 6 hours manufactured something that's causing harm, and the Republicans are trying to stop them from being held liable. And I don't agree with that. I don't agree with that. I think that if somebody makes a product that's inferior and that causes harm to people, they should probably be having to pay up for that.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very shady because we just have a lot of shadiness going on with our established politicians, it seems like. Um, so I'm part of the LGBTQ plus. I wanted to get everyone in there, and I know, right? Um, so as we, our rights are going to be attacked, and we all know Ayat says that she's not for same-sex marriage, but with you coming into government, the governor position, how are you going to give those protections to everyone?
Yeah, it's a great question. There is some work being done in the legislature right now to protect same-sex marriage on a statewide level, and I would support that. I think it's totally crazy that in 2025 people are asking me if I support same-sex marriage, but they have to because it's the Republicans have made this an issue once again, and the Supreme Court seems to be not exactly a trustworthy entity at the moment that we can, rely on to support, existing case law. So I think that's a huge issue. And, and again, it comes down to, I hope we have majorities, at least in the House, and hopefully a close to a majority in the Senate. and then we can expand, protections of the LGBTQ plus community.
So is this the bill you're talking about that, is it Alice Wade that is trying to get passed,
Yeah,
changing our constitution at state level
yeah.
to
I
protect?
believe it was Alice's bill. Yeah.
Yeah, great. Awesome. Um, yeah, because to give you a little backstory on me, like before it was accepted across the nation, I had to fly out from the West with my wife, who's from back here, to be married in New Hampshire because there's only 3 states at the time that we got married. So it's just really weird that I was here and I had to fly out here to get married. Now I'm living here and now I'm going to have to fight for my rights again. So it's just crazy talk to me.
Yeah, I think it just goes to this fact that a lot of the things that I think we all thought were rights that were settled, that were not up for debate anymore, we were wrong. And,
Yeah.
I think looking back on it, is there more, we should have fought for under Obama or under Biden to protect some of these rights in a way that would leave them less, less up to the whims of a Republican court. But I think that no one could have possibly seen where we're at right now. I know there was some predictions, during Biden's term, but I don't think anyone could have seen it being this bad, this aggressive, that the Supreme Court would go to this level to really support, to support the Trump's administration in a way that, they were just doing the exact opposite under Biden the whole time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I know, what is it Bridget? Brid? I always forget her name screwed up. She was asking like what do you think your top 3 priorities that are challenges in New Hampshire right now?
So my top 3 are housing, property taxes, and education funding. So a lot of people don't quite understand this fact, but those 3 things, housing, property taxes, education in New Hampshire are all one issue because basically we rely so heavily on local property taxes to fund the school that if we build the housing that we need for families, it's going to drive up property taxes if we don't fund the schools in a different way. And frankly, the courts and the Constitution are on our side in terms of school funding and how we need to change the formula so that the state pays a greater chunk. Right now, New Hampshire's local towns and cities pay 70% of the local school budget, which I believe is the highest in the country. So it's a crucial issue. We can't really get inflation down until we tackle housing. And housing is really, to me, the core issue in our whole country right now. Everything is housing. But again, New Hampshire's housing is tied up with property taxes and education funding. So those 3 are sort of like one issue in reality, but not everyone gets that connection.
Well, yeah, because vouchers are a scam. Like my property
Oh, yeah.
taxes here where I live in Bedford just keep getting jacked up. And we just need to get a control of that because I know that we need to tax the rich a lot more and not have AI telling everyone to bring that we're a tax shelter. Everyone bring all their stuff here.
And that's what's happening. New Hampshire has become a tax haven for the wealthy. And I wish that all of the governors could get together and say, look, it doesn't help us if they spend, 7 months in Florida and the rest of the year in New Hampshire to avoid the income tax that you guys don't have and we don't have. It's just like this circular race to the bottom. And it's not helpful for anybody to have this group of, frankly, parasitic individuals who are taking more than they're giving back. I think that's the bottom line. And the biggest threat to our country now is inequality. It's been the problem since before I was born, but it was severely exacerbated by Ronald Reagan and trickle-down economics. And inequality is what's tearing our country apart. It's not Donald Trump. He is a symptom of inequality. He is using inequality to get where he wanted to be and is now accelerating inequality. And the 2 ways in my mind to fight inequality are housing and education. If kids get a good education and they can go on to, go to college and get good jobs or start businesses or whatever, then they will be better off than their parents. And again, housing is just so crucial. So many people are spending so much money on rent or mortgages or renting, spending so much money on rent that they never even think they can buy a house. And I've just met so many people that are just defeated, completely defeated. And I want to give them some hope back that home ownership is not like going to be a myth, something that's just not even available for 30% of the population.
Well, there's not enough housing to even to offer, to lower income people because, as you said, everything is super high and no one, all of our youth is, and the young people and young families are leaving because there's no, I know that Moms Rising is trying to help, fix all that, but there's no good daycare or maternity leave or any of that. And we're going to be losing our future if we don't get it, squared away.
Yeah.
And I don't want to be a retirement state because I don't want to have to move again for a while. But yeah, I'm just like shocked about the property taxes out here. It's crazy. It's crazy talk.
Well, this is the thing that the Republicans push is this idea that just because we have few taxes means that we have low taxes, and it's just not true. Our property taxes is just widely high, extremely high. For people that don't know about this, or don't know about the reality of it, I own a 1,400 square foot building with no parking, not a very big lot downtown. My tax bill is about $7,000 a year. I used to live in a house that was a third bigger than this one. It was 2,200 square feet in Maine, just over the border. I had 3 acres. My taxes were $2,500 for the entire year. And I looked at that house the other day, and the taxes have gone up a little bit because that was a fair bit ago, but it's like maybe $3,000 for the year. And again, I'm paying about $7,000 for a much smaller building. The thing that's frustrating is if you go to Newcastle, which is a very wealthy town, I saw a $1.5 million house with a view of the beach with the same tax bill as I have, and that's the regressive nature of education tax or using property taxes to fund education. And that's really the issue. And the one thing that people should know, okay, the federal government gives us only 8% of our education fund for public schools, and 8%. Almost every other industrialized country, the central government is paying like 50% or 80%. But because we are spending so much money, frankly, on the military and having military bases all over the world, and we have the Navy making sure that Amazon gets their packages through across the Pacific Ocean, we are paying for our school, ourselves. So I think we should think about that when you're paying your taxes. Just think about that. 8% is going to your local school. A much bigger chunk of that is going to fund wars in foreign countries against people that are no threat to us.
But even to corporate subsidies as well. Like you're paying more, you're giving more money to Amazon and to, Elon Musk than you are to your school. It doesn't make any sense to me.
No, you're right. And I think the hard part is just these people who worship the money hoarders in a way that I find just completely, I just don't understand it. Like this worshiping of Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos as if having what I think is pretty much a mental illness, where you need to hoard all this money and have more money than you could ever spend times 1,000. And it's like to have that money and not think, oh, I could end homelessness in the United States and not do it. That to me is so deranged. And then to think that we lift these people up and that then we want to be our kids want to be like them is terrifying to me.
Yeah.
It is gross. And yeah, everyone should pay their fair share, and you're only as good as your weakest link or like our weakest community or whatever. It's
Yeah.
like people, I mean, you're only as good of a country or a state as your most marginalized community. And that's what I really like about you. You're down to earth, but yet you have some really good ideas and you are grassroots, so you're not taking like APAC and all the corporation money. We just need to find you like We need to find a rich relative somewhere. We're working on that.
Well, I don't know. I don't know if you saw this story I put out, this TikTok I put out a little while ago, but we actually did get our biggest donation that we've gotten was we got $10,000 from Jennifer Pritzker, who is JD Pritzker's cousin, JD Pritzker being the governor of Illinois, who is, and this is something I'm very proud about, is the only trans billionaire in the world. And the funniest part is, so this is actually like a really funny story because it totally put me in my place. So I had been making these videos about how the donor class didn't want to give me any money, and that if they did give me money, there'd be all these like, conditions on the money. Yeah. And literally, I made that video. The next day, we get 10 grand deposited in our Act Blue account. No email, no call, no questions, no requirements. Just got 10 grand. And I was trying to connect with her to be like, hey, how'd you find out about me? Like, why did you donate? And like, can I meet some of your friends, you know? And she's a billionaire. She doesn't have time to talk to little Johnny Kiper. And so literally couldn't talk to her, couldn't get through. She has a whole office that just writes out checks to people that I guess that she or they think are good politicians. So I was totally wrong. There are good billionaires out there. There's good donors. So we should not disparage them all because there are good people out there that are helping people like me, and just trying to weed through all of the sort of like this maze of funding is hard. But I think people should just know that there are Jennifer Pritzker's of the world. And I hope that we can connect with more of them.
Definitely. That's awesome. So I got a couple questions in the chat that I wanted to ask you. Bridget wanted to know.
Before you get started,
go ahead.
Sorry, just before you get started, do you want to kick me out? So if you need to bring a guest up,
yeah,
I'm through butchering the show.
You're not.
Thanks, John. I appreciate it.
Butchering the you're great. You're doing awesome. You're amazing. I don't know what you're talking about. Okay, so Bridget wanted to know what your stance is, and we have to be careful here with the verbiage that we choose to use. Okay. What is your stance on gardening?
Okay.
Do you feel what I'm saying? Like
yes,
the gardening.
I'm pro gardening. I'm pro Bob Marley. So if we could get more Bob Marley in New Hampshire, I'd do it. All the other states around us are into Bob Marley, and I think that we should as well. Yeah.
I think that there's a lot of pros to being Bob Marley fans.
Yes.
And that it does raise quite a bit of money for things like education and roads and things that the lettuce.
I will say
gardening lettuce.
I want people to be realistic about the money, because I've had this kind of conversation with people, and they're like, well, we can do that. We can do the lettuce thing, and then we can, eliminate property taxes or fund the schools. And I'm like, all right, so we just got to make sure we understand how much money it is, because Colorado might be bringing hundreds of millions of dollars, but we're not the same population. So when I explain to people, we're talking like 30 to 50 million, not like 300 to 500 million. And the total, property taxes in our state, I think is like around $4 billion. So like, you know what I mean? Like, the money is good, but in New Hampshire, it's not going to be quite as much as I think people are seeing in other states. So I have people just being like, oh, we just got to do this one thing and then we can eliminate all taxes. I'm like, it's not. I wish that were true, but let's be a little realistic here.
I know that here in Texas, Greg Abbott, who I lovingly refer to as Roldermort, I'm not a fan of his at all. He is proposing, and I think that he thinks this is the only way he's going to get reelected, but he is proposing that they do away with property taxes altogether. And I know that there's some talk about doing that in other states as well, but I want to kind of talk to you about why that's a bad idea. Because I know that you're a smart man, and you could see why this is a bad idea, right? Like, it's a very bad idea. So in Texas specifically, if they were to do that, it's a tax haven down here too. Let's be honest.
Do you guys have income tax in Texas?
We do not have income tax. No,
you have a sales tax though, I believe, right?
We have sales tax, and they toll the shit out of our roads, so we have to pay to drive on the roads. Which, by the way, I don't know if you've ever driven down here. the roads are like if God dropped a plate of spaghetti. That's our freeway system down here. It's crazy.
Yeah.
So, yeah. But if they were to do that here, they would be raising the sales tax to 20 to 25%. They would, because the money has to come from somewhere.
Yeah.
So they would have to raise the sales tax. There's no income tax down here. So it would be a use tax. And the people that are hurt the most by that are low income people. So, I don't know if they've talked about doing that in New Hampshire, but if you could tell us why you think that's a bad idea, that would be
So
awesome.
people just need to understand that like every state needs a base amount of money to just keep the schools open and keep the roads going, keep the water clean. And if you take away one tax, like we recently lost this interest and dividends tax, which was actually a really good wealth tax because it hit mainly people making over $200,000 a year on interest and dividends, like investments. We got rid of that, and now there's not enough money to run the state. And it's just, I kind of like selfishly and not, I sort of hope they do it in Florida just so that everyone else can see how completely terrible of an idea it is. Because like, you have to have money to run a state. And if you don't have the money, like people have this idea that, and I had hope that with Trump eliminating some of the, like messing with Section 8 and SNAP benefits, that people would realize, oh, hey, the federal government does stuff. It funds my SNAP benefits. It funds, Medicare. Like, and I'm talking about Republicans. I'd hope that they would see like, hey, Trump's messing with these things, and we need the government, and we need the government to be funded, and someone has to pay taxes. So like, this has to have, two parts to it. One being we take in money and one being we spend money. And I think people just the Republicans have done a really good job of convincing everyone that the government is really wasteful and that, that the government is just corrupt and spending all your tax money on, I don't know, frivolously. And at least in New Hampshire, on the statewide level, there's just not a lot of money to be spent. So there's not a lot of money to be even spent frivolously, which I guess is what they want, the Republicans. But we're at this point in New Hampshire where, to your point earlier about taking care of, or somebody's point about taking care of the most vulnerable in our society, they're the ones who pay the price first when there's not enough money. It's children in state custody, be it foster children, it's children in YDC custody, it's people in the prison system, it's people with any sort of disability that's in any way reliant on the state. Those are the first victims, of the budget cuts. And it's in abuse, it's in neglect, it's in, you'll see kids, literally, we had a girl get murdered by her father, and it was murdered. And
Yep.
like, you can't draw exact correlation to lack of funding, but it was partially due to lack of funding. They were homeless. He was coming off of an opioid addiction. The YDC was involved, but not, DHHS was involved, but not, was trying to save money by not getting too involved, which is what they try to do. Like, we don't want to take kids away from their parents, sure, but they a lot of times do it for financial reasons and not for the best interest of the child. And you end up with kids getting abused and even murdered. And I think it's just important for people to understand that there's real world implications to taxes being cut, and it's people's lives, literally. And the thing about it is, if the politicians are trying to push a tax cut, I guarantee you it will benefit them and their wealthy friends much more than anyone in the bottom 50% of the economics scale. And that is just so important for people to understand that is the playbook. It's convince Joe America, who's working at Best Buy making $20 an hour, that a tax cut for Elon Musk is somehow going to help them. Or likewise, that they're going to get hurt by some program that's really, aimed at a different demographic.
Definitely. Hey, Rye, thank you so much for coming up on the panel. Do you have a question for John today?
Oh, I didn't even realize that happened. Hi, hello.
Well, hello. I hate
Hello.
it when sometimes when I'm tapping too much, then I'll just like, appear on the panel and be like, oh, hi.
Oh
I
no,
guess
my cat was laying on me, so my phone was off to my side. So you can blame my
uh,
cat for that. But hi,
I
hello.
love that. Your cat obviously has some thoughts about this.
Oh, 100%. Hi, hello.
Hello, hello. So you can stay if you want to, or you can ask a question, or you can hop back down, whichever you want to do, what you're most comfortable with.
Absolutely. I mean, I'm from East Coast. I'm actually pretty familiar with the higher rate of taxes than it is like down in where I am now in Texas. But I think that one of my major concerns, especially being from like East Coast and like especially when it comes to federal actions currently, is protection of local and state land. Would you happen to have any like opinions or positions on that?
Yeah, New Hampshire gets a lot of revenue from tourists. And the reason tourists come here is to hike and to ski and to check out the leaves in the mountains. And frankly, tourism, I saw this the other day. I should have written it down, but it was basically saying that the financial benefit that the economy gets from having natural spaces that people are using for tourist reasons is way more money than we would get for using those same lands for like oil extraction or something. Like it makes more sense to keep conservation land, and state parks and national parks as national parks than it does to try to exploit the resources within them. So like I'm in the woods every single day. I am. And I think it's important that we maintain the funding for these places. I mean, one of the problems in New Hampshire is our fish and game agency is funded largely through hunting permits, and not as many people are hunting. Like it's gone down significantly for a lot of reasons. But so we need to put some money in there to ensure that we have the resources to keep these places safe and clean and keep the tourists coming, because we live in a beautiful state, and it's so important to not let the Republicans sort of try and extract every bit of wealth out of every acre of land in this country, which without the government, they will do that. Without people like
Oh,
us
absolutely.
fighting to control, to push back, the Republicans will extract every ounce of money that they can out of our natural resources.
As someone who drove up upstate New York and during the fall and completely am always taken aback by how just like paintbrushes are on the mountains, I completely get you. But I actually want to ask a follow-up then with that
Sure.
same extension because tourism, as you said, is a huge income source for many states. And now you're seeing a lot of national initiatives that are trying to deter tourism, whether that be national or international. So, would you have any thoughts on programs or other things that you could put in place to help shield from those actions so people don't have to give up 5 years of their internet data before even coming to see a leaf fall?
Yeah. I mean, the reality is the governor of New Hampshire does not have a lot of influence over those rules in terms of, migration and stuff. But that said, there's people in New Hampshire that are working with the Canadians to incentivize tourism and to say basically like, hey, we're sorry. We're sorry for Trump.
We're
Please
sorry
come
for
to our.
threatening to annex all of your country. Yeah.
Yes, repeatedly. Yeah, exactly. So I think that there's things that we can do, and that things that we should do to try to say to the Canadians, like, look, please don't hold us accountable for the Orange game show host who's playing president right now.
Oh, I definitely saw the ads that like Alberta, I think, was running where it's like, come to Canada, like we have good things happening here. So
Yeah,
I appreciate your feedback on that because I also know that a lot of I know a lot of local initiatives, especially when it comes to New England, especially in rural areas, are very red. Like, for example, when it comes to New York, I know all of upstate has very highly read opinions when it comes to certain things. Um, if you were to try and like assure voters like I am on your side on this when it's like if someone just reads, "Oh, running for the governor of New Hampshire," and is like opinion you want dispelled like right out the gate. Hey, I know I'm running for this, but I don't hold X opinion. What would it be?
So in terms of you're saying like an opinion that's not
Like let's say like for example, if someone's running in a red state who is also like let's for my example, Colin Allred recently
okay.
was running here for Texas Senate. He
Yeah.
says, "Hey, I'm a Democrat. I'm running in Texas against Ted Cruz. Also, I don't know about any trans people in sports." And then you're like, "Oh, okay, yeah, you're more conservative Democrat running in this area." Like, what would be like? Oh, I know on paper a lot of my opponents would say this opinion. What is like one
Yeah.
that makes you stand out in that
So
crowd?
I think one issue would be pew pews. I'll use that term because if you look at who's been purchasing pew pews since 2020, it is actually the majority has been purchased by women, minorities, and people of the LGBTQ community. And I don't think right now is a great time to go banning those. I just don't. I don't know what it is, but something about what's happening right now makes me think maybe we should just leave that alone for a couple of years, and maybe we can explore that issue maybe in 2029
Yeah,
or
like
another
later.
year. But
Hey, very valid.
that issue, particularly in New Hampshire, I have met as a restaurant. I was a restaurant owner for 10 years, so I spoke with a lot of people of different backgrounds politically. And that was one issue where I met a lot of people who said, hey, I only vote on this one issue. If I didn't vote on only this one issue, I would vote for Democrats because I actually agree with them on all the issues, but I'm a one issue voter. This is my one issue. Now, it's not a lot of people, but it's enough that to me, it's not worth trying to make that fight, particularly right now. And I think that one thing I think the Democrats need to learn is like, we need to pick our battles and we need to be like logical about it and realize like we can't campaign on everything. You know, you can't campaign on 100 things. You can campaign on 3 or 4.
Yeah.
If you get beyond that, people lose the message. That said, we can govern on many things and we can get many things done once we have power, but we have to get the power. And to get the power, sometimes you need to focus on, in my opinion, economic issues and really drill into those problems. Because what happens is the people in the middle, the independent voters, they're voting almost entirely on economic issues. These other things sort of are in the peripheral, but it's really like, how do I feel today about the economy? And their memories are for some reason very short. So they did not remember what Trump was like by the time Biden was getting finished in his first term. So we just really need to speak to these people on their level. They're not paying attention a lot of time. They're not watching the news. They may not know what's going on right now, but they're going to vote in November. And I think it's something that it's something we should. I mean, people hate it when I say this, but take the lesson from Trump. He spoke in simple terms. He said, "Build the wall." They didn't even build the wall. Really, they built a little bit of it, but the people think he built the wall. They think Mexico paid for it. 30% of Republicans think Mexico paid for the wall, and then it's there. So, like, at a certain point, we just really got to focus on, on winning and the fact that we can't run on everything.
I completely agree. I mean, I have a lot of friends in my spaces, especially queer spaces, who are very much, if you go far enough left, you get your guns back. But I have a quick follow-up because I also work in the service industry. I know it's a weird question to ask, and especially because it was a blip in the news. But any thoughts on the no taxes on tips policy, the way that was trying to restructure in terms of service industry and did not even happen on the
See, this is something Trump's actually really good at, which is he'll identify an issue and he'll talk about it to the point where people even think it's happened and they don't know that it didn't happen. Like, I know people out there that think that there's no tax on tips. They just think that he talked about it enough, it must have happened. And I think in general, that is a good idea. I think the problem is always, the Joe's checks. The problem is always the unintended consequences in our sort of like hyper aggressive capitalistic system, where I think what would happen is companies would start classifying everyone as a server somehow, and just everything would be tip. You know what I mean? They'd figure out some way to make it so that it didn't like work in the way
Oh
that
no, I'm absolutely of the same opinion, and especially with a lot of major waves, especially like I'm sure you've seen it in New Hampshire, where a lot of service industry jobs are fighting for unionization, where these companies are arguing that their bottom line with their staff is not what it should be, but they're also not granting them hours, they're not making sure they're getting a livable wage. So when it comes to like those kinds of actions, I'm always like hyper aware because I know a lot of people in my field who are like, hey, by the way, the IRS called me. And I'm just like, yeah, you need to do that.
Yeah, I went out with the Starbucks Workers United a couple, I don't know, was it last week? And they were striking a couple towns over, and it was really cool. They actually shut down the Starbucks in this one town in Seabrook, and it was great. It was kind of funny because everyone's like, "Oh, you got to boycott Starbucks," and I was like, oh shucks, I gotta not go to Starbucks. Like I only get coffee at like basically my local independent coffee shop. I rarely get coffee anywhere else.
Oh,
So
I'm
it's
the
really
same way.
funny
I
when
live, I
people
live
are
in the heart of Austin. It's like I throw a stone and there's like a matcha latte waiting for me. Like it's crazy.
yeah. Yeah. But it's crazy the amount of traffic at a Starbucks location, and you're like, I just don't even think the coffee is that good. And I'm like, yes, I will happily boycott Starbucks.
Fantastic. Well, that's kind of the brunt of all the questions that came to my head being forced on live from my cat. So I'm playing
Thank you,
with him to
Rye.
make sure he is fully satisfied in that regard. But thank you for the time and the answers.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming up, Raya. I appreciate you. As always, you're always welcome, my friend.
Oh, absolutely. It's good speaking practice, but also I think that was also my cat being like, all right, you need to get up and get ready for the stuff you need to do later. And now I got to do
Yes.
that. So
Awesome, awesome. I love that. They love to motivate us. It's fantastic. Awesome. I'll drop you down.
100%.
Thank you,
Y'all have a
Rye.
great rest of your night.
You too. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Okay, so I have a loaded question for you. Are you ready?
Hit me.
Because we need an education here. Okay. Are you a free stater? And what the fuck is a free stater?
All right, I am not a free stater, and I'll explain to you what they are. So, this guy named Jason Sorens in the year 2000, I think he was going to Harvard, but it might have been MIT. Anyway, he was going to some college, and he wrote this paper where he said it was like a think piece, I guess you'd call it, where he said, "Hey, if it was like if 20,000 libertarians all moved to one state, we could have the least laws possible." And when I first heard about this, I was probably like 18 or 19, and I think it was the year 2000, so I was 18. And at the time, as an 18-year-old, I thought, oh, that's great. They're going to make us, we can do all the gardening we want, and there's going to be no police. And like, oh, that sounds great. And they started moving to New Hampshire. But the problem was that their idea, like in my mind, I'm like, oh, they're going to get rid of all the police, But they basically are a hyper-libertarian group. They're not even really libertarian. They're more of like government nihilists. Like they don't want any government at all. They want to get rid of the public school system. They literally don't think that like the government should pay for roads or water. They think businesses should somehow like work together to build the infrastructure of like the state. And it's so absurd because if you talk to them long enough, they will basically, you'll get to this point where you're like, well, what you're talking about is just a government, but you know what I mean? Because like if 5 companies in a road are going to have to get together to pay for the road to get paved, at a certain point you need an organization, and then you're like, all right, well, we're back at needing a government now. And it's generally it's a lot of people who I think come from privilege and don't realize like, hey, the roads and the water and the schools come from somewhere, and they just sort of show up here and they're like, oh, we're going to basically defund your schools. We're going to defund everything that we possibly can, eliminate all taxation pretty much altogether. I know a lot about them because my former campaign manager moved here in 2016 from Texas, actually, to be part of the Free State Project. And so what they did was they had this whole plan where they ran for like town council and city council and school board and stuff. And she came here with her ex-husband. He was like, hey, run for state rep. She did it. And then basically after a year after she got here, she was like, these people are insane, right? And she was like, I'm actually a progressive Democrat. So she kept staying in politics, kept working in politics, but abandoned the Free State Project because they just were crazy. And so because of that, people are constantly thinking that I'm a Free State Project person because my campaign manager left them in 2016. And the Democrats in New Hampshire are a little bit paranoid because the Free State Project has run as Republicans and Democrats. And but they're so paranoid that there was times where they were like, and so I literally had my campaign manager write an op-ed explaining her whole experience and how, why she quit in 2016, like almost 10 years ago. And even still, like we have people saying that I'm a free stater, but it's just not true.
They sound like they're flat earthers. They sound like
a lot of overlap.
Yeah. So here's my beef about libertarian. My ex-husband's a libertarian. The emphasis on the X. Okay. Here's my beef with them. They have good ideas, but their ideas are based in a fantasy land.
Yes.
That everybody is going to do the right thing all the time. And people don't do the right thing all the time. People do what's best for them.
Yeah.
People act on selfish ambitions all the time. So you can't just get rid of government and expect that people are going to fill in that gap and, do the right thing, because people don't do that.
Yes, exactly. I mean, it was kind of funny because I was on the Newmarket Town Council in my town, and one of the guys on the council as well he was a libertarian. He wasn't a free stater, but it was really funny because just like the complexity of like running a water treatment plant, or running like a schedule to keep roads paved. It's like takes some organization, and you getting people together, and you've got to have the money coming in, and like it's not like that easy to do even for a government. But trying to imagine like a group of people somehow doing this like cooperatively in a way that doesn't end up just becoming a government is crazy. And there's some comments in the chat. So one thing, there's a book called A Libertarian Walked Into a Bear. If anyone's wondering or wants to learn more about the Free State Project, you should check out this book. I read it a while ago. And basically what happened was there was this one town, I think it was Croydon or it might have been Grafton, I think. All these free staters moved there, got involved in the local like government, and basically there had been a lot of I don't know if there were laws, but they were doing a lot of things to keep the bear population from like getting out of control in terms of with the humans. And they ignored all these rules and started feeding the bears, and the bears started like coming to people's houses, and like this one lady got attacked, and it was like this whole big thing where they just like, when you see the end point of what they're doing, it's just like, it's just completely irrational and just completely devoid of any like they just can't put it into practice in a way that makes any sense.
Can I pet that dog? Can I pet that dog? Can I pet that dog? Azalea, thank you.
It's funny because New Hampshire, like, live free or die is our motto. Like, I think everyone in New Hampshire considers themselves like a little bit of a libertarian in the sense of like, hey, I don't want somebody telling me, I can't, walk down the street, or I can't, go in here, whatever. I don't want people telling me what to do. And like, I try to push that when I can in terms of like live free or die means like leave trans people alone, leave people like LGBTQ people alone, like let someone make their own medical decisions, like live free or die. So I try to bring that aspect of it to the conversation politically and just say, look, we like live free or die means applies to everybody. And we have to really push that. So the word libertarian has just become so really like toxic in our state. I initially wanted to run. I was like, I want to run as a libertarian socialist, because that kind of really codifies what I believe is like leave people alone, but have a good social safety net, but my campaign was like, dude, you can't use the word libertarian in New Hampshire.
That's true. Yeah. And socialist is still a bad word for a lot of people too. So
it is in this neck of the woods. And probably neither one of those would probably help me get elected, but it does really, I think, says a lot.
Definitely. Zalia, thank you so much for joining the panel. Did you have a question for John tonight?
Yeah, thank you for having me. I had a question because I'm from over in Maine. And you might have seen me in your comments section. I'm a big fan of what you're doing.
Thank you.
Yeah. So I just enjoy the kinship that our states have in a sense where like we have the Northern Mainers who so desperately like basically want to be either with New Hampshire or secede and be like New Hampshire, but perhaps even more aggressive. I don't know how they plan on ever having roads that they can drive on, but
Yeah.
that is a question for later for them. But I'm curious because I've heard you speak a lot about the relationship between property taxes, school funding, and that's a problem over here as well. I am in my small town's government, and one of the biggest complaints we have year over year is not even about providing services necessarily, it's about keeping the taxes down. But most of our taxes are made up of the school budget, which we as the select board have no control over.
Yeah.
And it's not that I don't want to fund the schools. I think the schools should have more funding. So I'm curious to hear more specifics about the avenues in which you think that we can achieve lifting ourselves out of this vicious cycle.
Yeah, it's really difficult, to be honest with you, because people are so, I learned this thing when I was on the town council in Newmarket. Somebody said this. They're like, the only thing people hate more than change is the status quo, and it's like, you try to change anything and people just lose their minds. So I think it's really important that and I'm trying to educate people as to why property taxes are inherently regressive, because someone that makes $1 million, in a 3,000 square foot house could pay a similar property tax to someone making $50,000 who has lived in the same 3,000 square foot house, but has lived there for 50 years or something.
Absolutely.
So inherently, it's a terrible way to fund schools. Sadly, it's how the United States funds schools. It's how many places fund schools. So we really need to get away from that idea entirely. And I mean, we were talking about getting rid of property taxes, and I think schools should be funded. Frankly, I think schools should be funded by the federal government primarily. I think the state obviously should pay a chunk too, but I think the federal government should pay way more of our schools than they do. Obviously, I'm not running for Congress or Senate, but if I was, and if you're listening out there, this is what I would be talking about, because it just really doesn't make a lot of sense, that the schools are really the one place, the one free thing you get in this life, in the United States. It's the one free thing you get. It's, I was raised as in our schools to believe, education was the cornerstone to democracy. And what could happen if the education system wasn't tip top? We could end up electing some kind of, I don't know, maybe a game show host who paints his face orange, So I think it's just really important for us to have these discussions and realize, as I said earlier, I don't know if you're on, but almost every other industrialized country in the world, the central government is paying 50 to 80% of your public education costs. That is just such a big number. When I learned that, which was not that long ago, and that New Hampshire is getting 8% from the federal government, I was like, geez, this is just totally wrong. And frankly, the biggest issue right now, it's inequality. The two ways to solve inequality is education and housing, in my mind. And the federal government, I think, needs to step up on both of those fronts. But in the short term, we're going to be battling basically with, and I hate to say this, but it's with a lot of the baby boomers who got really great educations, and now they sit on these boards and they go, oh, wait, you're talking about my retirement fund here? I don't want to pay extra.
Just pull yourself up by your bootstraps.
I know.
Right?
And I hate it. We are really in this generational struggle right now as millennials and Gen Z and Gen X to really fight for a future for and at this point, it's for our kids. It's for our kids and our grandkids.
For sure. Yeah, and another horrible layer to this formula is that school funding, often from the federal level, what little we get from the federal level, comes based on test scores. So it's if you have a school that's underperforming, they're usually a school that needs more resources, and that's why their kids are underperforming, but they're getting less funding. But yeah, I really appreciate you talking on this topic and being here tonight. Good talking to you, man.
Thank you. Yes, it's great. I really appreciate it. And I mean, I think that we need to talk about, it's really important to talk about not just the fact that we need to fund the schools, but where's the money coming from? I think that's a really important part that I frankly hear a lot of politicians will say, hey, we got to fund the schools. We got to fund education. And it's like, all right, cool. How are we going to do it and who's going to pay? And in my mind, it should be the wealthy people who have benefited the most from having our society, exist.
Are they doing the school voucher thing in New Hampshire too?
Yes, that was a Free State Project, bill that was put through, and it's brutal. It's pulling tens of millions of dollars from our state education fund, and it's really hurting. It's hurting the state, and it's really bad because our state, there has been several lawsuits from a poor town called Claremont that basically sued the state and said, hey, the way that we fund schools is wrong. It's hurting Claremont. It's hurting our kids. And so they've won a bunch of court cases, and the legislature is basically just ignoring the judge who told them that they need to double the amount of money that they're sending to the towns and cities for public education. And instead of solving that problem, they just made the problem even worse by basically giving checks. They removed the income cap. So it's basically people making $1 million a year can apply for these vouchers. And it's completely ludicrous. And it's the whole goal, just so that people understand, is to make the public schools so bad that that the average person who's not paying attention goes, oh, the schools are terrible. I'm going to pull my kid out and homeschool, or I'm going to send him to a private school. They want the destruction of the public school system. That is the end goal.
Yeah. And it's states like Texas that are leading the way on it. Honestly, like it's shocking and depressing. Okay, so what would you say is your stance, generally when it comes to immigration?
So I think that this is an important fact for people to know, which is in our country, sentiments towards immigration have gone negative whenever there's a housing crisis. And this is not just happening in our country, it's happening in other countries too. It's all about housing. Housing is the issue. It's because when people have plenty of houses, I mean, think about it. If the boomers were trying to sell their houses and there wasn't enough people, they would be welcoming immigrants in to buy their houses. If they were seeing their housing prices fall because everyone had houses, they would be welcoming in the immigrants. It has nothing to do with the immigrants themselves. And the irony is that a lot of the people that they're deporting are roofers and framers and the people that we need to build the housing that the baby boomers and the millennials both need. So it's completely illogical what they're doing. If I was running the country and running the immigration system, I would say, all right, we are going to prioritize people that work in construction, and we're going to build the houses that both we and the coming in migrants need. And fundamentally, immigration, I think, is the United States' sort of like secret weapon economically over the last 100 or whatever years. We kept bringing people in, and that's how you grow an economy. And not only that, but we have a diverse group of people that are bringing new ideas from different countries. And I think that anyone who's saying that that's not an American or tradition is just blatantly wrong with our history. We are all the children of immigrants. I was just reading an article. I mean, unless you're Native American, and then those people obviously are not, but the rest of us are, we're all imports. We're all from somewhere else.
Right.
And I was just reading an article that Stephen Miller's family moved here in the 1900s from Russia. And it's a joke. J.D. Vance is married to an immigrant. Donald Trump is married to an immigrant. It's insane that they are just projecting this amount of hate towards a group of people that frankly are an economic resource and bring a lot of positive not only economics, but culinarily. I am pro-immigration because I'm pro-good food. Imagine if we didn't have immigrants in this country. The food would be so bad.
Oh, it'd be so bad. It'd be boiled chicken and just overdone pasta. It would just be awful. George, thank you so much for joining the panel. Did you have a question for John tonight? Thank you for being here.
Is there a difference between illegal immigration and legal immigration? Because what we're seeing a lot of now is people in certain communities coming in that belong to certain religions where they can have 5 wives, each living in a different house, and the states are taking care of these people, and they're living separate with whatever wife they choose, and they're having 5 kids, and again, the state's taking care of them, and they're pulling like 20% of each one of those wives' check, and they're living like kings. I mean, I understand immigration is good, and there's no problems with J1 immigration, people that are skilled to do the jobs, but the people that came over illegally shouldn't be here. I mean, there should be a path to citizenship for them, granted, and the whole system is broken. I understand that. But what's your take on it?
So I think that I would agree with the system is broken, and that the one frustrating thing that I see from the Democrats is that they are not offering what we need, which is comprehensive immigration reform. This is what's really ironic is if you look at the numbers, immigration, legal and illegal immigration, or undocumented immigration goes up when the United States employment rate goes down. Like, people are coming here because there's jobs here. That's why that they come, and they would not come if there was not people hiring them, and the fact of the matter is that we've made it very difficult to work in the United States legally, and we made it much easier to come here and what a lot of people do, which is what I would do if I was in Venezuela. They come here, they declare asylum, and they know it's going to take several years before they go to court because the system's underfunded, it's backed up. And so you look at the causes of why people are coming here, particularly, let's take Venezuela. The United States has been sanctioning Venezuela and causing massive harm, not only in that country, but in a lot of Central American countries, and been, doing our CIA, take out the elected official and see what happens because we want this other, dictator to take over because he's more easy to manipulate. And then people wonder why is there people fleeing this chaos in Central America that was manufactured by the CIA in many instances. So I think we got to have a bigger picture approach to it and realize that at the end of the day, every border is a mass hallucination. It's a mass delusion. Borders aren't real. Borders are just made up. We just see them, but they're not really there. And if we can get over that fact and realize that there are people who are investing in the United States, I mean, what could be a better test of if you should be in America or be in the United States is like walking 3,000 miles through a desert, a swamp, swimming a river under barbed wire with the chance that, you will be killed or starved or die in the desert. Like, that to me shows the U.S. is winning. Like, people want to come here. They will bring their kids here. They will send their kids here alone because they think that this is the place to be. Like, we are doing what this country set out to do, which was to be a melting pot. And I think there's always going to be pushback. And this is just it's happened so many times that to me it's almost cliche. It was the Italians. Oh, the Italians are coming in. Oh, it's the Irish. The Irish are coming in. Oh, and then periodically it's the Mexicans when it's not the Irish or the Italians or the Greeks or the Chinese or whoever it is. But whoever the last group in was, it's like, oh, well, they're not integrating or they're not assimilating. And it's like, it's always the same old story. And in 10 years, it'll be another group or whatever. Yeah. And I think we just got to understand that the United States is not like any other country. We are a different breed. There's really no... Like the American way is immigration. We are all immigrants, except for the Native Americans, as I said earlier. So I think it's just really important to keep that in mind.
I get that. I mean, we do need tradespeople, and we should be pushing our people to learn trades. I mean, people go to college and come out with a liberal arts degree, and they're the manager at a Waffle House, when they could have went to a trade school and been making $88,000 a year or more.
Well, I'll tell you, I was pushing the trades a lot my first run for governor, and it was really funny because I said a lot like, oh, we should make it easier for people to get into the trades. And I didn't mean easier as in make the tests easier. I just meant easier as in have a website where you can just sign up to be a carpenter, electrician, or plumber, or whatever, because that's how they do it in Australia where I lived. And it was really funny because a lot of the tradespeople got into my comments on Facebook and they said, hey, there's no issue with people coming into the trades. The issue is they don't stick around. They'll last 2 or 3 weeks and they'll roof a house for one time and then they will vanish. And the reality is that we have gotten soft in this country. Okay, we have had too many good years where we didn't have to worry about working. So someone from Mexico or Guatemala coming up here, they will roof a house for 12 hours because they know that this is their opportunity to send money home and make their lives better. But us, and I include myself in this, we have gotten lazy and weak because because we have never had to struggle. I mean, it's like people are starting to struggle. I mean, we're not like no one's struggling, but
Yeah.
it's not the same level of desire to work as people that are coming here fleeing like a war-torn country or fleeing, whatever economic catastrophe has led them to come here. And that, I mean, this is just what the tradespeople told me. They're like, I'll take, 5 people from Mexico over 10 Americans because the 5 people from Mexico are going to work way harder. They're going to show up every single day. They're going to be, putting in just extra effort. And that's not to belittle us as a people, but like, we just are at that point in the sort of growth of our civilization that people don't want to do trades. They just really don't.
Well, that's because they're not introduced to them young enough. I mean, if you were to make it so you could take out like the electives in high school, like home ec, wood shop, and send kids to a trade school for half of the day, they would jump at that, and they would have, even if they did decide to go to college, they would have something to fall back on.
Yeah, I mean, I think I think that the reality is just that, if you ask the average, and there are definitely people getting to the trades. I don't want to belittle Gen Z because they are definitely getting to the trades much more than my generation did for sure. And, we have, in New Hampshire, we have got trades programs. We've got a few, vocational schools. You can do that in our high school. You can go and study carpentry. One of my employees at my restaurant was building sheds through the vocational school while working for me. And it's an avenue, but it's just one of those, if you ask the average 12-year-old what they want to be, you know what they're going to say? They're going to say, I want to be a YouTuber. That's like it's the default answer. I want to be a YouTuber. I just want to be a billionaire, And the other thing about the trades is like, it's a hard job, like being a carpenter your whole life is hard. It does a number on your body. And, I know a lot of plumbers and well, not as much electricians, but plumbers and carpenters that, they got arthritis in their hands. They're in their 60s. They can't work past, 60, whatever. And it's a hard life. It's hard on your body. So I think that there's pros and cons to.
I'm an electrician. I've been an electrician for 30 years.
Yeah, I mean, electricians, they've got it a little bit easier than the carpenters.
They'll have to. Not anywhere as hard as the plumbers have it. The plumbers have.
Yeah, I have tried to do a little bit of plumbing in my own house, and every time I do it, I'm just like, I understand why plumbers are charging $150 an hour because the job is just brutal. You're always getting dirty water on yourself. There's a pipe leaking somewhere, and I have the utmost respect for plumbers because sometimes getting your hand around those screws and stuff that are all rusty, I don't know how they do it. It would drive me crazy.
Yeah, thank you, George, for coming up. I appreciate you. I'm going to go ahead and drop you back down. I will say one thing, though, as far as the immigrant community goes. The immigrant community are some of the kindest, most wonderful, most amazing, hardworking people that make our country better. Your property taxes are not out of control because of immigrants. Okay? Your kids not getting a good job is not because of immigrants. Housing prices are not on the rise because of immigrants. Your grocery bill is not out of control because of immigrants. None of these things have anything to do with your daily life and how you function. And an immigrant living across the street from you or an immigrant coming in, however means they choose to do so, has zero impact on your quality of life. So immigrants are amazing. And I hate the idea that people begrudge them their existence because they are here.
Yeah. And I think,
hate
in
it.
fact, not only are they not, causing your property taxes to go up, the opposite. I mean, one of the things I didn't know this when Trump, at one point they started going after people who are paying taxes. That there's a special tax file number you can get if you don't have a Social Security number. And I was like, why are they going after the people that are paying taxes? This is crazy.
Yeah, and this idea that that there's a legal way and an illegal way to do it. Look, they're taking people out of the courtroom and deporting them from the courtrooms. So that argument holds absolutely no water. There are people who are doing it the right way.
Yeah.
And they're still being punished. So,
yeah, the Trump administration has no respect for the immigration system that we had, which was not working very well to begin with. And frankly, the people ICE is going after is not drug dealers and criminals, because those people would probably be hard to go after. They're going after, preschool teachers and, parents dropping their kids off to school, because it's probably a lot easier for the ICE agents to not have to be dealing with an actual criminal that might have a weapon or whatever, So I think that the Trump administration, I hope, is making people realize the value of the immigrant community and what they provide to us, not only economically, but socially and culinarily, as I said earlier.
absolutely. Thanks for joining the panel, Lancelot. How you doing, friend?
Hello.
Hey, good evening. Hope you're doing well.
Good. Do you have a question
Welcome.
for John?
Yeah, John. So I guess you're running for New Hampshire. If I'm not mistaken, I think, was it New Hampshire? I think it might have been New Hampshire. I'm so sorry. I'm trying to get them straight. I'm actually former law enforcement here in Texas. But there was a ICE tried to actually did apprehend a police officer up northeast somewhere. I think he was, I thought it was in New Hampshire.
It might have been New York. I think I didn't hear about that.
Yeah. So I used to live in East Village 3 years, a while back. But yeah, you're exactly right. I mean, this administration, they, as far as quote, I know they yell those terms. We're good. He's great at the border. He's great in crime, which is totally false. When you actually look down in numbers, 3 of the 4 years of Trump won, violent, serious bodily injury and unalivings went up. And then under Biden, they went down every single year. And then as per FBI Uniform Crime Report, and then also take a look at what's happening now. You realize last year we had 19,000 Border Patrol agents. This year we have 19,000 Border Patrol agents. We have more ICE agents, but we have the same amount of Border Patrol agents. So as far as, quote, what they're doing, they always talk about, we run efficiently, the government, right? They're only deporting maybe about, I think they're up to 340,000 so far, which is at the end of the year, which is up from, I think Biden had 278 the previous year. So the amount of funds that they're spending to do this, they're spending 15 agents, if not up to 20 agents, to apprehend a dishwasher. Somebody's just trying to provide it for his friends from El Paso all the way down Del Rio, McAllen. We have a skeleton crew, and this is why CDC reported for the first time in 5 years we had a spike of OD and unalivings, schmugs, and Cash Patel just shrugged shoulders, right? And again, this is just, again, it's a show that he's putting on.
Yeah.
And I'm all for law. Again, I'm for catching the criminal. I did that, right? I did that for almost 9 years. And so, and the thing is, you want to do it professionally. And when I worked, ICE was working alongside us when our fugitive apprehension, and nobody knew about them. It's like they don't know about them. They didn't know about postal inspectors, things like that, right? And so one of the things is that when you do it correctly, you don't need to go and do all this nonsense, right? You do your job correctly and professionally. And I was just say one last thing. I'm going to kind of step down is that as governors, you do have of course, you can't interfere with their, quote, lawful duties. But once they step out of those realms, they can be prosecuted, because we've prosecuted agents here and we've arrested agents. here. And so one of the things is that, then becomes, we're peace officers. So our job, we swear, is to maintain the peace of that community. And so that's one of the things is that that's where the states, we have that where the supremacy clause, where we don't have to enforce that. That's their job. We do our job. And so I would say one last thing is that there's USC 242, Section 18, where when they violate any person's rights, they can be held accountable from 5 years to life imprisonment. And again, I know that's a federal thing, but I will say this: as governors, y'all would have a lot of pull to really demonstrate that, hey, when anybody that steps out of line, we will have our AG's office out there and local DAs ready to prosecute when you step outside the color of law.
Yeah, that's a great point. I mean, I think the one thing I'd seen California do that I liked was just saying that law enforcement can't wear masks while they're doing their job, which I think there's a reading of the New Hampshire Constitution that's not allowed, because how do you hold, a law enforcement accountable if you don't know what their face looks like and you can't, report them to, down the line. So I appreciate those comments, because it's tricky when people ask me, like, what are you as governor going to do about ICE? I mean, what am I going to do? Have the state police arrest them? Well, potentially, if they're breaking the law, that's
Right.
an option.
If they're breaking the law, correct.
Yeah, if they're breaking the law. And this is where, the state and the federal government, I think, are entering into a very precarious situation, particularly with ICE, and just the relationship between these two governmental bodies. And, it's sad.
It's sad.
It's frankly dangerous. It's
Yes.
dangerous that you have these masked men driving around, kidnapping people in a way that is, like you said, very performative. I mean, it's very WWE. It seems like the whole thing, Kristi Noem with the outfits and the video, the commercials they're putting out, just the whole thing seems like theatrics, and that they're not really, there's no point to it except for terrorizing people and showing, sort of like flexing to the Democrats, like, look what we can do, So I think we just really got to focus on what we can do when we get in power to make
Right.
sure that something like this never happens again.
Well, I would just say I really appreciate what you're saying. I'll jump down. Is that I if I was there, I'd definitely you'd have my vote. And
Thank you.
I would say just keep up the great work, and I'm definitely going to be watching from here in Texas. Thank you so
Hey,
much.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Amazing. Thank you, Trouble Lynn, for dropping that link into our chat. This is a link that you guys can go to, that it's to, what does it do? It keeps ICE out of New Hampshire. It kicks ICE out of New Hampshire, basically, without all of the details. But go check that out. We'll be dropping it in our Discord as well, along with some information about what it says. So, that's amazing. So thank you for that. So there's good news. Good news here, John.
Yeah.
We have reached 100,000 likes. So I will be placing a donation for your campaign today. If anyone would like to join me, perhaps if you would like to, match our donation, wouldn't that be something amazing? You can do all of that right here. So, check it out, guys. So exciting. Thank you so much for coming up today. Is there, because we're gonna wrap up here. We've kept you longer than we told you we would, so I apologize for that.
That's okay.
And thank you so much for hanging tight with us. So is there anything else that you feel like should be front and center? Anything else that you feel like should be super duper important to keep in front of minds for New Hampshireites? I don't know what to call you guys.
That's it. You're good. New Hampshireites works.
Yes, New Hampshireites. I don't know what you would want to tell people to keep in the front of their minds as they're going into this primary season. And when is your primary exactly?
It's not till September, but I am currently the only candidate, so fingers crossed.
When's do you guys have a deadline?
The filing period is June 14th ish.
Okay, so there's time.
There's
Okay.
plenty. There's plenty of time for somebody to get in. It's unlikely. Basically, every week that goes by, the chances of a Democrat getting in and winning gets slimmer and slimmer.
I love that. Trouble, Lynn. You'll forever and in perpetuity be known as the New Hamsters. That is, I'm loving it, and I'm. We need to put that on a shirt. That's amazing. Kayla, you had one more question.
Yeah, so on the subject of ICE, there was a protest that each group showed up. And my concern with that is the state troopers let them refile into a U-Haul and they did not arrest them. What are your thoughts about that?
Yeah, I think it's illegal to drive in the back of a U-Haul, I would assume. And that was a really bizarre spectacle because they actually had a sign that said something about Epstein and the files, but it was like that whole thing was very bizarre and performative. I was really not sure what to make of it. But yeah, I think that when people are breaking the law, we need to enforce it, and it sometimes can be troubling when law enforcement seems to look the other way, shall we say, when some of these groups are operating, such as the Proud Boys. The other one that we have around I've seen is the American Front, or there's another group that's operating. I can't
Three
remember.
Percenters is one.
3%ers is one, yeah. I think we just got to keep our eyes on these folks, and I think the other thing to remember is, when it comes to like Proud Boys and the 3%ers and these other groups, Patriot Front, that was it, and I think that might have been the group. Is ultimately they're not more than 100 people in the state of New Hampshire. Not more than 100, maybe 200. I have friends that have infiltrated their groups and keep an eye on them. There's people keeping tabs on them, and it's not a lot of people. They try to intimidate us with their stickers and their posters and with their protest, when they show up at these events. But I think it's just really important to remember that we are multitudes bigger than them.
It was just troubling because even there was even tear gas. Like they tear gassed someone that approached them, and
Yes, yes.
it just seemed like that the law enforcement was protecting them, letting them file back into the back of a truck, which is illegal, instead of arresting them for even just that infraction.
Yeah,
Eh,
yeah. I think that I think as governor, I'd enforce the law, as far as you could with groups like that.
Yep, it's troubling because we want to make sure that we're keeping those in check, especially in this landscape of where it is just seems like it's a free for all.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I think that the biggest thing with all those groups, I think, is just keep an eye on the young men in your life and make sure they don't drift into the alt-right pipeline, because it's a very short, couple of years from Roblox on you, and then YouTube, and then Alex Jones, and then all of a sudden you're deep in it. So keep an eye on your young men. I've got a 9-year-old son, and I am always watching what he's watching and making sure that I know what he's taking in, and I'm always sure to talk about these different groups and explain to them why we don't affiliate with them, why Grandpa went to Europe in 1944, and we tell that story a lot. When Grandpa showed up at Auschwitz and those photos, like we have these discussions to make sure that people are aware of the history, and that that the kids know, what has led us to have such disdain for this one group of people.
Yeah, for all the New Hampshire, what are we calling us now? Are we
New
the new,
hamsters.
New
oh, the
Hampshire's.
new
New
hamsters?
hamsters.
Yeah, coming up in 2026 with the new bills coming to play and into light. Everyone just be aware of what's going on. I started reading through some of them, and I'm not liking, like, there's some that are mimicking Project 2025, and there's even a Charlie Kirk bill in there. I dropped the information in our Discord and our NH Talk little insert of a commercial there.
Yes, I love
And
it.
yeah,
Shameless
yep,
plug.
yep, a shameless plug. So
I love
everyone just
it.
be aware, be involved. Yeah, we got to get this through this thing together, and hopefully we can, keep our trans community safe and sound here.
Yeah,
Yeah,
100%.
I think that when people look at these organizations, these groups that are fighting on the wrong side of history, let's be clear, they see the appeal, especially our young men can see the appeal because they put off a very powerful front, but they don't think about, if these people get their way, a whole lot of people are going to be hurt. Like hurt. Their moms and their sisters are going to be hurt. Their neighbors are going to be hurt. Like there's a whole bunch of people that it impacts. And I think the draw is to not talk about that part, to just look at the powerful, chest thumping. So they feel like they're doing something and that they belong somewhere.
Yeah.
And it's upsetting, but we're fighting them, and we're doing a great job. So I was asking you before, though, John, what is one thing that you would want to tell people in New Hampshire that needs to stay front and center during this election season?
So I'm fighting for what I'm calling community first economics, which is basically the opposite of trickle down economics. That has been the main political or economic system in our country. Has been trickle down economics, Reaganomics, cut taxes for the rich and corporations. And I'm proposing an alternative system called community first economics, which is basically everything Democrats have been doing for the last several decades, but with a better name.
Yes.
So it's supporting your community. It's supporting housing. It's supporting education. It's supporting healthcare. It's doing all the things to make our community strong. And with strong communities, I think the economy will follow. I think that what we lose in this discussion is if people aren't paying, all of their money towards rent or income, they have more money to spend at local businesses like mine. If people are well educated, companies will move to the state where the people are educated because they want to employ those people. It's a reciprocal relationship between education, housing, and the economy, and that we have just let corporations take way too much control, way too much power. And that's one of the reasons why I think it's important for people to understand that I am right now sitting on a $4,000 property tax bill that me and my girlfriend are sort of figuring out strategically how we're going to pay that over the next couple of months. I'm suffering from the same economic issues that I think 50% of New Hampshire residents are suffering from. That's why I'm motivated to solve these problems in a way that a wealthy candidate, basically the type of candidates that the Democrats normally put up, are not going to be as motivated because they're not their problems. And we need to stop electing rich people to solve middle class and working class people's problems. That's fundamentally the issue. They're not going to solve our problems because they get in there and they go, oh, sorry, couldn't do it this time. Maybe next year, keep voting blue no matter who. And we've just got to wake up that, we got to have candidates that are going to follow through with their promises. And in my opinion, it's someone that's closer to you economically that's going to do that.
We got to keep in mind that the people that we elect in office have to fight for us, and they're not going to fight for us if they're not one of us. They're going to fight for the people. They're going to fight for the people that they align with. Like my congressional representative, Craig Goldman, he is a very wealthy individual, a very wealthy white Republican man. Like, he's not going to fight for me. He doesn't know how much a gallon of milk costs,
Well, and I try to tell people this, think about just this guy, your guy. He goes to a cocktail party, right, for Christmas or something. It's a bunch of rich people. He's not going to walk in there and go, oh, guys, guess what? I'm putting in a bill to tax you. It's not going to happen.
Yeah.
And likewise, I'm not going to tax my middle class community. I don't want to do that. I don't want to go into my community and be like, oh, I raise your taxes. I'm not going to do that. I want to raise taxes on rich people because I'm not hanging out with them.
Right. Well,
it's a simple, practical, reason why I would want to help my community because I'm here with them,
And you don't want to get jumped in a parking lot.
Yeah, right.
So, that makes a difference. Yeah, I mean, honestly, the thing about the wealth, and I'm so glad that you brought that up because the whole wealthy, these people have more money than they could ever spend. They have more money than their children and their children's children and their children's children's children could ever spend in a lifetime.
Yeah.
So why they can't afford to pitch in more to cover the cost of roads and emergency services and to make sure that a rural hospital in Tennessee isn't going to be closing. Like, it just doesn't make any sense to me.
Well, and I think people got to understand the rich need to pay more taxes because they use more resources. Jeff Bezos is, all the stuff from Amazon is traveling on a boat that is protected by the U.S. Navy in the Pacific Ocean. And then it gets to a port that's funded by U.S. taxpayers, gets on a road funded by U.S. taxpayers. And the entire system is propped up by a system of courts and contracts that is funded by the taxpayers. All of his employees were educated by the public education system.
Yeah.
Like, he owes more because he has taken more. And we need to start realizing that we have power as a group. We outnumber these billionaires by a lot, and we need to take that power and we need to use it. And I think that that is the crucial aspect of this. And when I think this is something else that's important. When I say tax the rich, that is actually a pro-rich statement. Okay, because the alternative to taxing the rich, there's three things. It's going to be, revolution, civil war, or massive transformation of our system. It's got to be one of those. Historically, it's always been one of those. And the wealthy, the rich will pay for, are going to pay one way or the other. Either French Revolution style or something a little bit more civil, like what happened in 1930s when we had the New Deal and that sort of thing.
Yeah, for sure. Amazing. You had a knock on your door if you need to go get that.
I know. Well, it's kind of funny. I don't recognize that person. I'm in the space where my restaurant used to be. I turned it into my campaign headquarters. And so it's like, it's kind of it's a commercial space, but I live upstairs. So it's kind of an apartment. So every once in a while, someone doesn't know the restaurant's closed and they'll just try to poke in.
They're like, I want a cheese pizza. I really want a cheese pizza.
Yeah.
Well, that's amazing. Hey, you have our booking link. I would love to have you back on because you're amazing. You have such great ideas. And I really feel like I really would like to eventually have a bunch of you guys together so you can bounce ideas off of each other. Because I think the things that you're talking about, you're John Kiper, New Hampshire, right? The people in Colorado have no idea what conversations are happening. And we're such a huge country. We really just need to start building a better community all together. So I would love to invite you to come back. You have our booking link. Please feel free to use it to book whenever you'd like, because we would love to keep talking to you and figure out how your campaign is progressing, what changes that you've been making, and what else you do or can do to help inspire people within your state and your community to get more involved in politics. Because the be-all, end-all is our civic duty is not done when we leave the voting booth, right? Like, we have to do so much more than we used to in order to fight fascism. And I'll be honest, guys, I would so much rather be playing Borderlands than fighting fascism. Okay. Yeah. So, but here we are. So we all have to work together. We've all got to do more. I will be going to your Act Blue right now to put in a donation. Thank you all so much for all your tapping, all of your amazing. Thank you so much for all the tapping that you guys did. I will definitely be contributing to your campaign. You can match my donation if you would like, guys. Definitely do that. But before we wrap, can you give us a little bit more details about how to get involved in your campaign? If somebody wanted to phone bank for you, for example, or if they wanted to, buy you a cup of coffee or a yard sign, what would they need to do?
So go to my website, which is votekiper.org, votekiper.org. You can sign up, you can donate, you can buy merch. We got a bunch of really cool shirts. We got cool hats. We got all sorts of cool stuff. So yeah, check me out on the website and you can sign up to volunteer, get on our email list. And then obviously follow me on TikTok.
Yeah, guys, it's no secret how we feel about big money in politics. Spoiler alert, it's like super gross. Okay. So bad. We want candidates who serve the people and not special interests, but those campaigns don't run on good vibes, man. Whether it's your wallet, your time, or just hitting that follow button and sharing content, every little bit helps. Even free clicks pushes John's message throughout the interwebs and helps expand his message to even more people. And that is so, so very important. So whatever you guys can do, go buy John a cup of coffee, would you?
Thank you.
Thank you, John. We really, really appreciate you. You're welcome back anytime at all. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll be in touch.
You bet. Sounds good. Thank you.
Bye.
Now, guys, before we go, and thank you again so much for to John for coming up. But I wanted to give I don't know if you want to come up, friend. V, do you want to come up real quick and talk about Not Your Merch? Because I would absolutely love for you to talk about Not Your Merch if you want to. But you don't have to. I'm not trying to pressure you. I might be trying to pressure you a little bit, but you don't have to. You don't have to come up if you don't want to. Hello.
I don't mind coming up, but I'm driving. So.
Oh, that's fair. Okay. So in your Uber, then for sure. And we won't take up too much of your time, but you guys know that this incredible person down here is the owner, operator, and just genie extraordinaire for Not Your Merch. And she makes bold political merchandise that you wear on your chest and tell MAGA exactly where they can go. There's lots of stuff that she makes that gives people the bravery and the boldness to speak their mind on their chest, and it's so amazing what she does. So I just wanted you to come up and, say that.
Yeah, I mean, it's just what it boils down to, Jess, is yes, we make bold political merchandise that speaks out against the current administration, but really what it boils down to is us being able to reach across the aisle, regardless of race, color, or culture, and stand together in solidarity with other people and stop drawing the lines of race and start just working together as a human race. That's what it boils down to. And, that's the message that we hope our merch actually gives. And, some of it is just in your face, just F off. But really the message is that we need to stop drawing these political and, race lines that are out there all day long.
And do nothing to help that doesn't help you. By beating somebody else down, it doesn't get you a bigger piece of the pie. It's not a pie, right?
Right.
You're not going to get to stand on a higher podium if you're knocking people off of theirs. It doesn't work that way.
Right.
So,
and the thing is that the mouthpiece, the orange orangutan that is in office right now is literally making it so that, only the voice of a particular species, if you will, and that's the species of not being able to see other people for who they are, which is just people. They're making it to where they're the mouthpiece of just hate. And they're making it seem as if there's only one specific look in the American society that is allowed. And so we need to stop with the hate, because you can see it actually happening with, just what happened this weekend with just the violence across the United States and going all the way to Australia. I mean, the people over in Australia are just in shock now, just because the schmazzyism is just across the pond, because of, they're just running around everywhere now, and it's just so normalized, and we have to stop making this normal.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy what's happening, and we got to keep fighting. Like I said, it's not enough anymore to just go into cast your vote and then be done. You have to do so much more, because the stakes are so incredibly high. So,
and they're going to stay that way. I mean, we can never, ever forget this time in history. We can never, ever, ever become complacent again. And you can never allow someone to gaslight you into saying that you're exaggerating about what's actually happening, because there is nothing about what is happening right now to be normal, ever.
Yeah.
And we just need to consistently speak that message, because it is ridiculous what is actually happening right now.
Yeah, it's a lot of heavy hearts happening right now. So, but thank you so much for taking the time to pop up real quick and just tell us real quick what you do and why we love you. We're just amazed at all of the cool things that you're doing. These guys
Thank
are responsible for, creating all of our shenanigans, and all of our merch comes straight from these guys. So if you want to support a small, independently owned, Latina owned business, and grassroots candidates and an independent indie creator as well, you can hit all three of you can check all three of those boxes by shopping in our showcase, and
Yep.
all of the proceeds go to grassroots efforts. So you guys should do that. It's super fun, and there's a lot of fun stuff in there. So
Yeah.
Awesome.
Thank you, Jess. Your voice
you
is
so
amazing.
much.
We
Oh,
appreciate
thank
you
you.
so much.
Thank you. I really appreciate you guys too, and we'll see you again soon. Okay.
Okay.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.
Okay, guys, so we're just gonna wrap things up here real quick. I just want to give a huge shout out to the amazing content creators that were here tonight to support us. Our incredible design genie, executive producer, and graphics extraordinaire, the Kayla. Please follow her; she's incredible. Everybody that we had on the show tonight was absolutely amazing. Thank you all so much. Just a reminder, this show is not about me or the K-Law. This show is about all of us pulling together and doing some really good things for our communities. So all those things that we said earlier about pushing out the content, clicking on the likes, following your favorite, people, do all that stuff for us too, because we are still a baby endeavor and we are still slinging galaxies on TikTok. And that is a hustle, guys. It's a hustle. Okay. But it takes a village, and that means every single one of you. If you are interested in joining our Discord, we have a Discord, and it's like so amazing. There's so many amazing things in the Discord. So many resources for you if you ever need to know where to start. If you want to get involved into activism and you have no idea what to do, if you want to get involved with a campaign, you have no idea what to do, if you want to learn how to make soup kits and you have no idea what to do, our Discord is the place for you to go. And it has a deep dive on every single candidate that we've had on our show so far, tells you exactly everything you need to know about them, and has a pretty beefy calendar on who's coming up next. So if you guys want to know what's happening in It Takes a Village land, then hop on over to our Discord, and we'd love to welcome you. It'd be fantastic. Join us on Friday. Friday is going to be a fun show. Friday is going to be the final show before our holiday. What is it called? Break. It's a holiday. I don't know. It's a break. We're having a holiday break. We will be back on January 5th, but Friday night is going to be an amazing show because we're going to have Lexi Doherty from Georgia joining us, and she is fantastic. She's incredible. She's amazing. We will talk with her about her campaign to flip tables in Georgia, of all places, guys. The incredible superpower of grassroots and her drive to bring progressive politics to her district. It matters so much, especially in Georgia, because Georgia is like one of those states where it's just like, it's so close. And I cannot wait to see Georgia turn blue. I may be more excited when Texas turns blue because I live here. But let's be honest, if Georgia turns blue, that is a huge win for the United States. So you guys are gonna want to pay attention to that. So tune in. Be sure to follow us on Substack, Apple Podcasts, The Gram, The Tube of You. And if I could make a quick plea, we'd love it if you just pop right on over there and leave us a review. It helps get more eyes on our content and more ears on these incredible voices. To each and every one of you in the chat who stayed as long as you did, thank you all so, so, so much. Your support means the world. I'm going to go make a donation to John's campaign right now, and I hope you all will join me. That would be so fantastic. We need more voices like his. Kayla, did you have anything else that you wanted to add before we say goodnight?
No, just thank you everyone in our community for coming out and joining us and supporting our grassroots candidates. We have a lot ahead of us, but we're going to get through it together. And thank you, Jess. You're always doing awesome work, and You always make the show just look like a great big diamond.
Well, you have to polish all the shit off of it first, but then sure, yeah, I'll go with it. All right, guys, no blood diamonds here today, okay? These are lab created, fully sustainable, safe jewelry that you can wear. Let's not.
You make it look like a great big shiny CZ. How's that?
Yes, cubic zirconia. They're beautiful. I'm just saying that's fantastic. All right, you guys are amazing. I'm gonna head out of here. We got Norzo soup. That's orzo and gnocchi soup because I ran out of ingredients, and that's what we're having for dinner. I hope you guys are putting something warm and amazing in your belly. And we'll see y'all on Friday. Okay. Have a great night. Take care of each other. And we'll see you soon. Bye.
It takes a village.